Let's talk about Richard Dawkins. It's been a while because he's still on the anti-trans bandwagon, but that's not even the thing I want to talk about. This guy was all over the news this week because on Easter Sunday, a radio show uh, in the UK somewhere, they interviewed him. And they interviewed him because Christianity, they wanted to talk to him about Christianity's diminishing role in public life. Uh, Obviously, Dawkins has written about that for a while. He's spoken about it for a while. I get why they would want to talk to him. I get why they would want to do it on Easter. So that part is fine. And initially, he said that, yeah, what's wrong with that, right? He's thrilled that many people are ditching their religious beliefs. And you know what? I fully agree with him. I'm glad people are leaving. But then he went in a weird direction. There was two weird directions he went in. The first one, it's innocuous. It's not as bad, but it's still weird, and it got all the headlines. Let me play for you the first segment of this. This is the one you may have seen a lot of headlines about. And basically, what Dawkins is saying is, sure, people are losing their faith in God, but it doesn't mean like Christianity's going anywhere, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. Okay, let me play for you this first clip.
I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer, but there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and um, I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense. It's true that statistically, the number of people who actually believe in Christianity is going down, and I'm happy with that. But I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches.
Okay, so Dawkins is saying he's culturally Christian. He likes churches. He likes the cathedrals and all that. Um, and you know what? Fine. Doesn't bother me. There are a lot of people who grew up in Christian environments, Catholic churches, and even if they no longer believe in God, they do feel something when they walk into a cathedral, into a mosque, into a synagogue, even if they no longer believe in God. They have these feelings about it. They respect it. If you go to Europe or something, what do you want to do there? Let's walk to these churches. They're beautiful. I get that. I get why people are culturally, whatever religion it is they grew up with. That doesn't bother me. I saw a bunch of headlines this week saying, like, Richard Dawkins says he's culturally Christian, as if he said something mind-blowing. And that's where it got weird, because he's been saying this forever. This is not new information. He was saying all this when the God Delusion came out. This is an article. Look at the date on here from BBC. December of 2007. Dawkins, I am a cultural Christian. He has been saying this forever. He says he likes Christmas carols. He likes singing carols along with everybody else. Like, again, there's nothing weird about what he said to the BBC this week, because it doesn't make him a hypocrite. It's perfectly normal for people to say, I like certain elements of Christmas. I mean, how many atheists who are out there celebrated Easter, at least in a non-religious sense? How many of you enjoy Christmas for the same reason? Yeah, there are cultural elements of religion that we all grow up with, that many of us grow up with, that we still cling to because it's fun and it's nice and it makes us feel good. Fine, whatever. That's not weird, okay? He has a soft spot for it. I do want to point out that he carves out a space for Christianity in a cultural sense. Like, for someone who says God is a delusion, and for the new atheists who said, like, religion is poisonous or whatever the word was, he's still saying, yeah, but there are aspects of it I still like. Um, okay, fine. I would also point out, though, what is Christian nationalism if not cultural Christianity as practiced by one dominant group of conservative Christians? Like, what is Christian nationalism but like forcing your environment, your Christian environment, on everyone else, because it's not like it has anything to do with Jesus or God? By suggesting that cultural Christianity is okay and that the UK is a, quote, Christian country in that sense, I think it gives unearned credibility to this idea that the US too is built on a foundation of Christianity, which it is not. Um, so that's a little weird too. And by the way, the consequence of that is that our laws should somehow reflect that. That is an argument a lot of Christians have made, and that's wrong. So in America, it's never really about God's will so much as political desire. And there are always Bible verses to back up whatever goal you want to accomplish. So I don't love giving Christian culture a lot of credit necessarily, but okay, fine. But then he said something else. Dawkins said something else that did rub me the wrong way a lot, because the host of that show asked Dawkins to comment on the fact that church attendance is dropping. However, she said, there are 6,000 mosques across Europe under construction, and there are many more being planned. She said that. I'm not sure where she was getting that information from. I tried looking it up, and all I could find is an article in the Daily Mail, which is a right wing tabloid of sorts. I wouldn't trust it, but this is the only reference I could find. To serve the religious needs of the new Muslims, like the ones entering Germany, is where this article is going. There are now 6,000 mosques in Europe, with more under construction. I think that's where she got it from. But by the way, that's not what she said. This says there are 6,000 mosques in Europe and more on the way. She said there were 6,000 being built on top of what already exists. That's a total misinterpretation of what this says. So she's wrong. And in case you want a number for the sake of comparison, I'm just going to point you to this Pew Research Center article that says the Catholic Church is larger than any single religious institution in the United States, with over 17,000 parishes. So I'm just saying, there are 17,000 Catholic parishes in the US. There are 6,000 mosques across Europe. Don't really think this is anything that dramatic. It's not concerning, whatever. But going back to that Daily Mail headline for a second, this is where you know it's a right-wing tabloid. Look at the headline on this Daily Mail article. How Ramadan is muscling out Easter all over Europe. 30,000 Ramadan lights festooned across London. A Muslim crescent flag flying atop Westminster Abbey. Jam-packed mosques while church pews are fast emptying. Like, man, this is just great replacement theory in the UK, isn't it? Like, we got to be worried. Muslims have gone from, like, I don't know, I'm making this up, but like 3% of the population to 4. Therefore, the 80% of us who are Christians need to be worried. It doesn't make any sense. But let me tell you what they're talking about here. This is what happened in recent days, like in London. This is an article, Ramadan lights return. They're back in London's West End for a second year, illuminating the streets with a display celebrating Ramadan and Eid. And look at this. You can see this in the pictures. They lit up a street with symbols and lights honoring Ramadan. 30,000 lights in when you look up. It looks beautiful and it's cool. Like, they're not saying anything about Islam. What they're saying is there are Muslims in our community. So this is a nice thing we could do to honor them. And that seems fine. Mayor Sadiq Khan of London was there when the lights were turned on. He was there to launch the festivities, as you would expect a community leader to do when it comes to something that affects a lot of his community. What about Westminster Abbey? This is what happened there. I'm sorry, what did they say about like the royals? Windsor Castle hosts a Ramadan event for the first time in history. Sounds fine. There's a lot of Muslims. It's nice to see them being recognized as part of the fabric of the society. Again, I don't have I do not believe the religion is true, just like I don't believe any religion is true. But I appreciate when any government, when the federal government, when state governments, when they say, hey, these people are part of our citizenry and there is a meaningful day for them today. Let's honor that. Let's celebrate that. And by celebrate, all I mean is let's kind of do the bare minimum to show them some symbolic gesture that they are one of us. None of this is a problem. Like, if this is a problem for you, let it go, man. This is not church-state separation that I am talking about here. because you see this all the time. Let me just point you to a couple things Joe Biden has done, for example, and he's not alone in this. This is a tweet. Today, millions around the world will join together to celebrate Holi, the arrival of spring. This is a tweet to honor a Hindu festival. Fine. Here's Joe Biden again. This is Jill and I wish a happy and prosperous Mahavir Jayanti to all those observing. This is to honor Jains. That's what my family is. There's like 24 of us in the country. It's a small population. And yet, here's the president of the United States saying, hey, I see you. You exist in the US. You're a part of our country too. Let us just offer this symbolic tweet. It's fine. And obviously, he has done the same when it comes to like Hanukkah. The story of Hanukkah teaches us that even a little bit of light, wherever it is found, can dispel the darkness and illuminate a path forward. Does that mean Joe Biden is Jewish? No, it means he's honoring Jewish people in America. It's fine. And I bring up all that to say the things they did in the UK to honor their Muslim population and to celebrate something at a time when there's a lot of very real anti-Muslim bigotry in the world. That seems very useful and very important. They are not saying, like, let's embrace Islam. They're saying, let's show some respect to the Muslims in our community. And I appreciate that. So what did Richard Dawkins say about all of that when they asked him? Let me play you that clip because this one bothered me.
As we know, church attendance is plummeting, but the erection of mosques across Europe, I think 6,000 are under construction, and there are many more, are being planned. So do you regard that as a problem? Do you think that matters?
Yes, I do, really. I mean, I don't, I have to choose my words carefully. I mean, if I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion, in a way that I think Islam is not.
That is a weird thing to say. And you know, he knew it was a weird thing to say because he prefaced it by like, I got to watch my words here. First of all, what's that? If I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, as if that's a binary choice anyone has to make. That's stupid. He'd choose Christianity every time. Of course he would. It's what he grew up in. It's what he knows. Religion is religion. There are bad people who will twist religion and the words of a religious text to do whatever horrible thing they want to do with it. I don't really see much of a difference just because we're kind of more used to seeing people twist Islam to do horrible things doesn't mean one of these is better than the other. But that last thing, Christianity seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion in a way that I think Islam is not. The hell does that mean? I mean, look, coming from the United States, is Christianity a fundamentally decent religion? I mean, I could point you to things powerful conservative Christians have done in the name of faith, and none of it is decent. Pick your month, it doesn't matter. They will harm women in the name of religion. They've done that with IVF and Roe v. Wade and overturning Roe v. Wade. They have done that against LGBTQ people. Dawkins has participated in it when it comes to trans people. Like religion has routinely been used to harm people. Christianity, I shouldn't even say religion. Christianity has been used to hurt people. And even on a broader level, forget the stuff I just mentioned, you could say their opposition to science has hurt science education in our country. You could say their love for guns and their hatred and ignorance of vaccines is harmful to all of us. So, like, the idea that Christianity is a fundamentally decent religion, I don't really buy that framing, but also, no, just because you had a nice experience in your childhood with Christianity, that doesn't mean, oh, well, it's fine. We'll all be fine if Christianity is there, as long as we're not Muslim. Like, what the hell does that mean? There are so many peaceful, fine Muslims, and it's like, what are we dismissing their whole religion for? Why does Christianity get treated with nuance in Dawkins' mind, but Islam doesn't ever get that benefit of the doubt in his mind? I do not understand that, and it's not the first time he's done this either. Let me share this with you because this is like the quintessential Dawkins doesn't get it Twitter post on this subject. This is a picture. This is from 2018. There's Richard. He's in front of this church here, and here's what he writes: listening to the lovely bells of Winchester, one of our great medieval cathedrals, so much nicer than the aggressive sounding Allah Akbar. Or is that just my cultural upbringing? Yeah, buddy, that's your cultural upbringing. Millions of Muslims say those words every day, and it's not offensive and it's not weird. Uh, I know some bad people have said that terminology, but notice what he's doing here. There's a sound that this church is making, and I love it. But also, terrorists say this horrible phrase, and I hate it. So I'm going to say my bells are nicer than your evil words. Like apples to oranges comparison. It doesn't make any sense. You could point to Islamic music. Maybe then we could have a comparison. And by the way, sometimes Islamic music sounds beautiful too. I don't like religious music in general. That's just me. But like, you're not even comparing the same thing here. What are you doing? Why are you saying this? He thinks one is better than the other because he's used to one of them and he really doesn't know much about the other one. And his familiarity with Christianity allows him to cling to certain elements of it and declare them good. But when other people in other religions do the exact same thing, he acts like there's something wrong with it. Like, it's such a messed up way to think. Like, look, it's one thing to say all religions are untrue, because I agree, they are. And it also makes sense to call out extremists who profess a particular religion, because those people are absolutely harmful. But like, in the US, we have red states run by conservative Christians who want to impose their religion on us, and they are a literal threat to the health and safety of a lot of people. And it is also true that there are extremists who commit horrible acts in the name of their faith. There are countless believers, though, Christian, Muslim, everything else, who condemn all those acts, who believe their faith is being twisted by zealots, and who support religious freedom and who support church state separation. And it is irresponsible, especially for someone like Dawkins with his platform, to act like all believers of a particular faith are identical, whereas his religion, his childhood religion, gets to be treated with kid fingers and like nuance. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Dawkins is mad that believers are getting respect in some sort of way. He thinks honoring Islam in a ceremonial way, just as governments do with Christianity and Judaism all the time, that's somehow a mistake when you do it with Islam. But celebrating cultural aspects of Christianity, he says, are fine. I will say, Dawkins went on to say in that interview that Islamic texts are hostile to women and gays, which is fair. You could find those verses if you want to. But dude, have you read what's in the Bible too? It's not any better. Again, what are we talking about? We're talking about harmless celebrations of Ramadan. And Christianity obviously has been cited to oppress all those groups. He also added later in the interview, yes, Christianity is a threat in the US when it comes to science, education, and abortion rights. But then he said, in a place like Africa, where you have missionaries of both faiths operating, he puts himself on Team Christian, which is just a weird thing to say because there is very real harm Christian missionaries have done in Africa. If you watch that docuseries White Savior, you saw someone who pretended to be a doctor or who put on the aura of a doctor to take in sick kids and pretend to help them, and then a bunch of them died. Like, Christian missionaries are not okay. Like, what is he doing? Like, I get that he believes certain non-supernatural aspects of religion deserve respect because they're meaningful to him personally, but he doesn't extend the same olive branch to people who grew up in other faiths, even though their experiences are really no different. This isn't about belief. This is about believers. And the thing I heard for a long time when I was younger is that you don't have to respect their beliefs. You got to respect the believers. You respect the believers. You don't respect the beliefs. But he's not respecting believers. So what the hell? And at a time when Muslims are being demonized in both of our countries by people who equate them with zealots, he's just adding fuel to the fire. This is what he does with trans people too. Like at a time when anti-trans bigotry is everywhere, he's just piling on. He refuses to grasp the nuance because whatever, he doesn't feel like it. And it's just, I think it's irresponsible given his platform and his reach. And because I'm an atheist, it bothers me when like the most famous atheist says something stupid.